Yo, what up, chat?
Yo, what up, chat?
It's your boys, the High Roll Heroes, back. You may notice that there is a different looking layout here than before. Where the hell is our chat thing? There it is. Well, it looks like it went there.
Where'd it go?
Oh, the chat thing.
The chat.
Yeah. So our little chat's up there now. Yeah, little purple guy. Smoke is
Smoke is one of the heroes now.
talking
for
to
sure.
everybody. Yeah, he's part of the High Roll Heroes lore now for sure. He's an honorary henchman.
Henchman.
Yeah, he's an honorary High Roll henchman. So, for those of you who are new to the High Roll Heroes, we are a team of superheroes dedicated to reducing harm around the world, not from the typical forms of harm reduction, but through education and destigmatization and, being voices for the pro-legalization movement of all drugs. Not just some drugs, but all drugs, because the only way that we can end the war on drugs and in the harm and or reduce the harms of these drugs that everyone is going to continue to use is to legalize and decriminalize all of them. What we do every night on stream is we get really high, we talk about drug policy news and other stuff that grinds our gears, and then we play video games. You will notice that we have this new setup now, so on top of playing video games, we're also going to be giving you guys more information on the drug war, as well as just covering various topics and other, news things that we may not cover on our typical bong smoke sesh, but just kind of have other things that we want to talk about while we're gaming with you guys, and just also, just give you guys something else to engage with as well, some more information.
Right.
We're gonna try it, see how it goes. Hoping that no one flags us or anything. We're giving credits to who we're gonna be watching. All the music videos and music that we play in the stream is of course done with permission by the artists. So
That's right. We asked, or we had other people ask.
Smoke wants to smoke. So, as you see, we're on Twitter right now. We had a little bit of our Twitter stuff to talk about today. There was this statistic from Julian Buchanan, PhD, who said that 34.2% of people who use people who use untaxed drugs. So, of course, that would mean illegal drugs. That's a nice way of saying illegal, untaxed drugs. I liked that one. But yeah, PWUD is a common acronym you'll see online that stands for person who uses drugs. Person who uses untaxed drugs was a new one for me. But yeah, anyway, they reported that they did not seek the needed healthcare that they needed because they were afraid of being treated badly by medical providers for using drugs. And so this study was done, and it's called I Don't Even Want to Go to the Doctor When I Get Sick Now. Healthcare experiences and discrimination reported by people who use drugs.
I wonder how he feels about untaxed cigarettes and untaxed tobacco. Like if he goes to his buddy's house and he just grabs one of his buddy's drinks.
Wait, I think he's just, like I said, he's using the phrase like, I think that it's a smart way of saying illegal drugs, because just saying people who use drugs is very vague, because like coffee drinkers are people who use drugs, right? People who take medication.
There's also a black market for alcohol.
Sure, there's a black market for everything.
Just collectors of very rare alcohols will trade and also sell between each other.
Right. But you can't
It's a super illegal market because that's not taxed. And you don't have a liquor's license.
Yeah, any untaxed market is illegal technically.
But nobody goes after them.
Right. But yeah, I saw someone say today basically how the war on drugs and the war on sex work are very similar. Like those are like the two of the most similar things, like a drug, like selling drugs and like selling sex, as far as like how they're generally treated and stigmatized. And I agree with that for sure. I think that those two things are very similar, and both need to honestly be decriminalized completely. But yeah, so basically in this study that was, we're not going to dive too into, but just the premise in general, just wanted to talk about it for a second. People are not going to, and that's part of what our show is here for, honestly. We've talked about starting potentially a call-in show or something, but people don't want to go to the doctor because they're afraid, they're terrified, just because they use drugs. Same thing for the police. People who are on drugs are not likely to call the police because they're afraid that they're going to get in trouble for being on drugs. Even if they're a victim of a crime, even a violent crime, they're also afraid that they're also going to get slapped with something because they're involved with drugs. They either have drugs on their possession, they're high on drugs, they sell drugs, or they sell sex, or whatever. They know that someone has something on them. The moment that you make these things illegal, you give other people ammunition, weapons to use against these people. The moment that they know that these people are selling drugs or using drugs, people can even be blackmailed. People can, especially like sex work, that happens super common in the sex work. Here. This is completely all on topic.
Well, the blackmail isn't.
Huh?
The blackmail isn't.
Well, I'm saying, yeah, it is. It's part of the fear. People are afraid because of the things that can happen to them, and it gives, Yeah, you're right. I guess giving people ammunition isn't necessarily part of this, but it's overall part of, and it's one of the many issues with having a black market, right? Is that you put people in danger. That was my point. Is you put people in danger. You put people who use drugs are in danger because they don't feel like they can go to the police. People who do sex work are in danger because they don't feel like they can go to the police. They don't feel like they can go to a doctor. Most people don't even feel like they can do mental health care stuff. Most people can't go tell their therapist unless their therapist is a very open-minded or drug-friendly therapist, which ideally there are some out there, and I hope that more and more continue to be available to people who need them. But most of them are just going to go into the healthcare system or go into a therapist and be told, oh, well, you do drugs, so that's clearly your problem, because, they're just going to go by what the book says and what they were taught in school and just be like, well, that's clearly the problem. You just need to get off drugs. And if they've never used drugs, that's probably honestly what they really think. But that doesn't help anyone. That doesn't help drug users. They can't just stop using drugs. That's not realistic for them. They have traumas or other pains or other things that are reasons for their drug use. But once you make people's supplies illegal, or if they test something that's illegal and find that it works for them, they now become alienated from the society, and then they don't feel like they can ask for help. They don't feel like they're part of the community.
I mean, they're also told that they're not part of the community.
Right, they're literally dehumanized.
Scum and
yeah, anyone who's criminalized, for sure.
Right. Anyone who's criminalized is not part of the community.
Yeah, you're considered
just get
subhuman.
Called off to jail, where they pay you a dime for making license plates all day.
Speaking of a little bit more issues today in our society, this tweet, it's I don't know the full story about this. I guess this happened in Dublin, but a man was refused accommodation by a homeless by homeless Dublin because he had no ID. His belongings were all stolen, and he was homeless, and they wouldn't help him because he didn't have an ID.
What the fuck?
Yeah, this homeless non-for-profit that's supposed to help homeless people didn't help him because he didn't have an ID, so they couldn't prove who he was.
Right, no ID.
Because he was robbed as a homeless person, and he has no ID. So yeah, what the fuck? That's just a what the fuck, for sure.
Wow, that's crazy.
Throw that in the what the fuck tier.
For sure.
This. Oh, that's not important.
For those of you that don't know, the what the fuck tier was in our previous video about um, top 50 scary drug PSAs. Some of them are super scary. But yo, we gotta go about like the most ironically funny PSAs too.
Yeah, we'll look at more. But yeah, the Friday stream. If you guys didn't tune in Friday, we did our top 50 PSA React, and we did a tier list as well. We threw that up on YouTube. So far, that's been our best video so far. So super appreciative of that. Seems like it's getting a pretty good traction. I think it'll be our first video to break 100 views. That's really dope, especially given that that's just on our clip channel. This isn't even like the really like top tier stuff that we're hoping to bring you guys. So super stoked that some of our creative React streams that we had a lot of fun doing are also, you know, something that people are having fun watching. It's like it's a 3 hour long React. It's definitely, you know, it goes pretty deep, but I would say if you have time to check it out, we would appreciate it. We'd appreciate the views and any feedback. Hit that like and subscribe if you want to see more from our clip channel. This comic here by Brian Box Brown, who has mentioned to me that we may be talking at some point. I'm interested in poking his brain a little bit, but he was covering this.
I'd like to talk with him. He's cool.
He's covering he did a little comic book covering the true social equity, which is no more lotteries, no more caps, no more lockups, no more waiting. So this is talking about cannabis issues in the cannabis industry. As far as, especially, they're claiming that in places like Illinois right now that there was talk about, right, when the cannabis legalization bill happened, that there was talk about social equity, that people of color, communities who had been hurt by these laws, the previous laws, would now have a chance to play in this race, right, and would have a chance to participate in the cannabis industry. However, then very quickly, you know, big money comes in, starts just investing way more than other people can, and because of the tax structures that are set up this way, they basically only reintroduce cannabis in a way that people with big pockets can get in, and that's how it is in basically any limited market. There's not a lot of states, I feel like, that don't have any kind of caps. I think Oregon might be one of them, but even Oregon, there is like, you can't just make infinite stores either. There is still certain amounts of rules and stuff like that. So
right, even the place named after that video game where I constantly got dysentery and died, the fucking Oregon Trail.
And like, so I just wanted to talk about this equity thing a little bit, because it's something I participate in the cannabis industry. It's how I've made a living for the last few years. And I know quite a bit about it. I also am definitely not a big fan of our modern day, you know, cartels of capitalism. So I have a pretty fair understanding of that too. I do think that there's obviously a major point to be said here. I'm just really interested more in what true social equity, like, I would like to talk with them too, honestly, to just find out more exactly about what they're looking for, because like I agree, it's a big part of the reason why personally it was something I was looking into, but it's so difficult to look for getting a cannabis license because of the amount of hoops that you have to jump through, the amount of money you have to spend, the amount of like capital that you already have to have at your disposal. You can't get a business loan for cannabis, which they want to do the Safe Banking Act, which mostly, for the most part, would help the already big cannabis companies more than it would help the new guy trying to get in. But it would pave the way for at least, you know, small business loans for illegal drug markets and things like that. But honestly, like, we really just need...
Yeah.
Right.
If they'll even still, like, not discriminate against you for whatever reason that the bank wants to discriminate you against.
Yeah, but the bank can't really discriminate too many ways. I mean, and you'll always be able to find other people. You'll always be able to find other people who will take your money. Right now, though, when the federal government is literally like, the FDIC will not insure cannabis money. So the banks are like, we can't insure your money, therefore we can't do business with you. And that's a federal thing. It's not on the bank.
Yeah.
The banks are itching and biting for the cannabis money. but it's a government thing. Really though, the main thing we need is not safe banking, right? Like safe banking is a band-aid. Safe banking helps some of the problems within the current legal industry, but the current legal industry doesn't really need to exist. We really just need full decrim and full federal legalization. That to me is the real social equity. So that's what I'm interested in seeing what social equity is talking about. If you guys want to go follow them, here's a little. This is True Social Equity in Cannabis. It says that they're documenting Illinois' BS social equity programming and mobilizing throughout the country to free the people, free the plant.
That's cool.
No can of lottery, no can of caps. So I agree. I'm not a big fan of the cannabis lottery either. I don't think that necessarily.
I'm not a fan of that. I think anyone who can get a license should be allowed to get a license.
Anyone who just wants to sell weed should just be able to sell weed. Period.
True that.
It's a very
even right now in our legal market, I think like anyone that can put a store together shouldn't have to like fucking roll the dice to see if they're allowed to.
Right. No, I agree for sure. But yeah, I'm interested in seeing how they say that the legalization of cannabis is a world health issue. I'm sure that's just like some buzzwords they're trying to talk about to, get people to pay attention to the cause, which is an important cause, like I said. People in multiple states are realizing that the ways that corporations have co-opted state systems. And then
Which is right. That's to summon the smoke.
Illinois, who legalized in 2019, is the prototype for corporate-friendly legalization. Competition has been limited to a few large multi-state corporations. We've joined up with groups in Arizona and Connecticut and are dealing with the same issues. At their press conference, they reiterate their 4 pillars. No more lottery, no more caps, no more lockups, no more waiting. They've even filed a complaint against the Chicago cartel for unfair business practices under the Clayton Act. We've got legislators who seem like they want to do the right thing, but they've got just endless lobbyists in their ears. I wish they would just look out their windows and see the messages of this movement. So he did a comic for them to cover them. Super cool. But yeah, they
lobbyists.
Huh?
I fucking hate lobby. It's one of the worst practices we do in this country.
It's legal bribery.
Literally legal bribery.
Yeah.
Literally.
All it is. Just exactly what it is.
It's just, oh hey, here's money for your campaign. So that you can, write off a vacation as a business expense if you talk about work with your staff.
So this clown posted today, for those who say marijuana isn't addictive, this week's CDC disease or condition of the week, marijuana use disorder. So the CDC decided to highlight a condition or disease of the week, and they decided to highlight marijuana use disorder, not cannabis, of course. Marijuana. They threw cannabis use disorder after the marijuana use disorder, of course.
Right. Even though the scientific name should be the official diagnosis name,
right,
and not the word marijuana, which was
only used by America.
Right. Well, they pushed it all over the world.
Right. For sure.
Literally created a Spanish word.
So yeah, basically says 3 in 10 people who use marijuana have marijuana use disorder. Marijuana use can lead to increased risk of stroke, heart disease, and other vascular diseases. Marijuana has been associated with increased risk of psychosis. Using marijuana during pregnancy may increase a person's risk for pregnancy complications.
Let me tell you, Chad, I may have a lot of disorders up here, but my use of marijuana is my own choosing, and it feels great for me.
Yeah. Also interesting that he said for those who say marijuana isn't addictive, and then he said that they highlighted marijuana use disorder, but it's actually true that no one in here actually said anything about. Nothing in the CDC article said anything about the word addiction. It only covered that increased risk of psychosis, pregnancy complications, vascular diseases, and that 3 in 10 people who use marijuana have marijuana use disorder, meaning that they are
even if addiction is already a disorder,
Sure.
according to them, addiction is already a disorder. So then why is there the separation of a drug disorder or a drug, what was it you said? Marijuana something disorder, use disorder?
Marijuana use disorder.
Marijuana use disorder when it's
I
just not marijuana
hate
addiction.
this label.
Why you create another disorder because you don't want to just say addiction?
Right. Well, I mean, they want to label every specific addiction as a different kind of disorder so that they can create treatments for each different kind of addiction. Right.
But they already labeled addiction as a disorder. Now they're like separating disorders and addictions again.
Right.
Fucking bullshit. Like you could be addicted to porn, and then you have the porn use disorder, and then you got the alcohol use disorder, and you got the cigarette use disorder.
Right. Yeah.
Then you got the licking toads use disorder.
Maybe.
I ain't never licked one of those toads, but if it was legal,
I
might try that.
Caption shit. I don't know why it's still
because it wants us to have it. It demands that we have it.
So, the stoned investigator commented, how about a link to the research? This is actually really hilarious. One study estimated that approximately 3 in 10 people who use marijuana have marijuana use disorder, meaning that they are unable to stop using marijuana even though it's causing health and or social problems in their lives. Then he says, which study? Yeah, nowhere in the CDC article did they link any of the study. Oh, he said the footnotes didn't link to the references section. I found the references. I'll share. Recent research estimated that approximately let's see.
Estimated approximately.
See, but where are they even getting these increases? Like, where do they get these statistics? Like, oh yeah, marijuana use disorder increased from 4% to 9% in from 2012 to 2019. Like, who among what did you poll every American? Where do they get these numbers? I didn't get that poll. Did you, Mr. Gunn? Did you participate in that poll of are you using marijuana or not? The countrywide poll?
Probably not, but also maybe. I do a lot of polls. I don't know which one is like the official poll, but watch it's like from CNN or like Fox News or some bullshit news media that like not everybody fucking goes on. Like, who has time to go to a news site and you can just Google like every fucking news story readily? Like, and I don't have to scroll across several news sites to find the latest polls.
This guy
bullshit.
This guy said, I'm addicted to cheese because it's so awesome. I have cheese use disorder, I guess. I'm like, yep.
Fuck yeah, cheese, bro. Cheese it up, baby. The Leaning Tower of Cheese.
This
in
guy
your hand.
also linked a National Review article called "The Limits of the DSM-5," which, if you guys don't know, that is the book of all of the different mental illnesses that exist, and they constantly add new ones every year. And it's
because every time they add a disease or an illness, you get a new pill.
Yeah, there is, if you research into the limits, like this article and many others, of the DSM-5, you'll quickly start to wonder if any of the mental disorder stuff that's out there at all has really any validity to it. But that's for you guys to decide. I'm not going to come on here and say that there isn't. There's definitely some validity to it, though I would say that there's definitely a lot to be desired. And there's a lot more to what's going on in your brain than just a disorder.
that one goofy friend, the one with the cheese can, who would do anything for cheese can. Like he fucking helped Max and his fat friend PJ, that was his name, for a fucking backpack full of cheese can. He like DJ'd for them. He set the special effects, the lights. That dude had a drug addiction to cheese. For damn sure.
This guy's fucking image though. Hold on. Are you struggling with a prohibitionist?
Are you a prohibitionist?
It says, "Are you struggling with a prohibitionist?" And then it's a list. It says, "Believe do they believe drug use makes people dirty or untrustworthy? Believe use will likely lead to addiction. See addiction is an incurable, lifelong brain disease. Don't see alcohol, caffeine, nicotine, or sugar as drugs. Believe it's drugs that turn people into liars and violent criminals. Will justify almost any strategy to tackle drugs. Happy to conflate association with causation and just blame drugs. Want a world free from drugs, but not their drugs. Rely on belief and anecdotes rather than science and evidence. Believe sending out the right message is vital, even if it's untrue. Want widespread drug testing to catch and punish users. And refer to people who use drugs as addicts or junkies."
Can you imagine how awesome it would be with our current technology to produce medicine, and then allowing like people to make medicine with our more advanced technologies nowadays, using opium from the fucking poppies, using marijuana or cannabis, you know, the proper term, cannabis in our medicines? Because the medical uses for cannabis have been recorded thousands of years. For thousands of years, they talked about the health benefits of cannabis from ancient China to Greek or to Greece.
Right. And a big problem with medicalization and medical use. I've seen symposia on another tweeting tirade lately about, just the efficacy of psychedelic therapies. And they're probably right. But as I've said, to them, when it comes to like SSRIs and other stuff, the efficacy rates aren't really there either. We do show that there's a link, so there must be something there. And just like with other drugs, we show links, and we know that there's a link. We know that cannabis has been used as a treatment. We don't know that it actually will directly cure anything, but it can be used as a treatment, and that is something that is worth studying. We know that it's been done so for forever. No, you're not going to be able to patent it and make all of the money off of it, you fucking cartel bastard. Sucks to be you, because cannabis existed before patents. Patents shouldn't exist in general, but that's a whole other freaking story. Anyway, to finalize this little point here, though, I just thought it was funny because every tweet on here was literally just people ripping this whole tweet apart, and the DSM-5 and prohibitionists and all the bad cannabis takes. There was not even I didn't see a single person agree with this gentleman, just nothing but shitting on the CDC, all of this. And then this guy posts, the fact that this tweet was so controversial only proves the problem. It wasn't controversial, dude. Everyone disagreed with you. There was no controversy. You're the only one. You're the only one that thinks this.
Only one, man.
Obviously, your other buddies at Sam and Every Brain Matters and all the soccer moms maybe too, but no one else in that whole thread was literally agreeing with him, and he's like, this thread was so controversial. What did you read? What? Yeah. Enough of these prohibitionist scumbags.
Hey, they're not scumbags. Let's not call names now. I'm sure they're good, hard-working, God-fearing Americans, and possibly other people in other countries.
Come back.
Because the other countries also have these prohibitionists.
They a bunch of scumbags.
No, there's just a bunch of uninformed and uneducated people that we will inform and enlighten.
Yeah, some of them are, but then some of them are like PhDs who claim specifically that they are like drug war experts. And those people who claim to have that much information and who I know the history of these things and still decide to push for the opposite, or like people like Sam who clearly just are trying to make a profit off of the hysteria, those people are scumbags. And those people who want to profit off of prohibition and just be a prohibition grifter, those people are the scum of the earth.
All right, yeah. If you're just still continuing to promote,
Like that's why Sam is
the
throwing a
thing,
convention, because they're like, look, all the angry moms of the world, come be at our convention and talk about your son's cannabis use disorder.
uh, uh,
Like that kind of stuff, where they're like literally trying to create hate mobs and still trying to promote hysteria even now. That kind of stuff. And when I say scumbag, I'm still not saying that you don't deserve love and that you're not a valid human. I'm just saying that you suck and that you just need to stop and legalize all the drugs and help us legalize all the drugs and stop fighting it, because it just needs to happen.
please help
There
us
isn't
legalize
anything.
all the drugs.
There isn't a single argument that you can bring. There are arguments that you can bring, but not a single one that you can really bring that has any evidence behind it that isn't just based in some kind of higher moral system that you've basically just adapted from religion and from the laws and culture that your government has fed you about drugs. And you haven't actually tried drugs or, ever really rolled in any of the circles with people who do. And so you don't really know about them, and that's fine. And so they're scary. They're unknown. Unknown things are scary, and that's what the government does. That's why xenophobia exists. Same thing. You're just xenophobic to drugs. And
Yep.
they're scary and unknown and foreign and dangerous, but really they're actually just very helpful tools, things that people have used for millennia. And we understand them now better than we've ever understood them ever. So there is no reason that people cannot use safely now more than ever. We actually have testing things, and we have the means to create regulated supply. And Mr. Gunnam and myself are both against commercialization. That was a topic that got brought up because I made a little poll, and it was a bit of a joke poll. Get this real quick.
Yeah.
Are you gonna get in my game? I'm waiting for you.
Yeah.
Game's up. It was a bit of a joke poll, but basically I said, should all drugs be decriminalized? Now, I didn't mention legalization. I made sure not to mention legalization because I wanted to see what people would say. But I also just made it kind of a meme because I put yes or C. So basically, your only options were to agree with me. But I had one person comment who said,
Are you on the land connection?
I should be.
There you are.
I had one person who said, well, I agree that there should be legalization, but not, or that they agree that there should be decriminalization, but we also need a legal supply. Now, we here at the show are all about that for sure. That is same opinion, big same.
This right here is 502 legal cannabis. That's our legal supply there.
Yeah, we do believe that everyone should have a legal supply. We're very fortunate to live in a state where we do have a legal supply of our current drug of choice. And
Yo, that's what you're wearing in your character.
yeah, you like it?
Yeah,
It gives me like steel ball run vibes.
It's pretty pimping. Yeah. For sure. You should get a hat like that. You'd probably look good in it.
I like the little fucking
feather.
I was gonna say the pentagram, but yeah, the feather's cool too. I like the pentagram belt buckle in the center.
Yeah, that's cool. Love it, loving it.
Anyway, what were we saying? Legal supply. Yes. So with the with decriminalization is, I feel like, the argument that is the most solid. So that's the one that I feel like we can all kind of get people to agree with, because most people would probably agree. Like, legalization, that's where you're going to have so much like discourse and like people on all kinds of different sides and what legalization even looks like, right? Because does it look like pill mills and like places where people can just go get injection sites? Does it look like you can buy it at like Walmart?
Do you want weed at your local farmer's market?
Yeah, is it only at a farmer's market? Like, can you home grow
my cannabis honey? Bees that only eat the cannabis flower.
Home grow things like that. So all of these kinds of
be so sick though, wouldn't it?
What, the bees?
Honey.
The honeybees?
Honey only made of cannabis pollen.
There is infused honey.
Yeah, but that's not the same as a bee making it.
Right.
Bees are badass.
But yeah, because legalization looks so different to so many different people, that one's one that's harder to argue for. But I feel like it's a given when once you decriminalize, then for safety's sake, I think that you can decriminalize without legalizing. I think that it's obviously you're still going to have black market supply and that you're still going to have like the same problems you have now. But I think
but there's black market supply for everything.
Right. I think that but once you legalize it federally, once you would legalize everything, I feel like
most of the black market for sure.
Yeah, then you could start developing the laws around the various products that start to emerge. And each drug really should be regulated differently, and that's another big thing when it comes to legalization and regulation, is no one's saying legalization and all of these drugs should be treated the same. Of course, there should probably be certain different kinds of cautions taken with ones that have, more serious and potent effects than others. I'm sure that that's fine, but regardless, we need to completely eliminate any and all criminalization. And that's the one that I feel like is the easiest argument. Like I said, legalization, you're going to have people be like, who just believe that heroin is just so dangerous in every possible way, and that there's no use where it could ever be good, even though it's been used medically for a very long time. And you're going to have those people, but no matter what, it's going to be really hard to find a person who's like, hey man, that guy over there who's just like really had bad beats his whole life, and he takes this stuff to like get through his day. They think he should be locked in a cage, like repeatedly until he stops. Do you think that's how we should handle his mental illness? Most people would be like, no, I don't think that that's how we should handle that. So like, yeah, just stop criminalizing and villainizing these human beings who just need help and who are using a substance that they've found either works for them or, through looking for something that worked for them, they've grown a dependence upon. And you need to treat them with the same kind of love and respect that you do all fellow humans, or even maybe more so, and try to help these people because they're the ones who really, really need help. And that's why they're using in the first place, because they don't feel like they have any means of getting help. And those are the people that we stream for. Those are the people that we're here to educate you on behalf of, and hope to do our best to continue to destigmatize and de-villainize these substances and their users mostly. Not, honestly, the substances themselves, I'm not particularly attached to many of the drugs. There are so many drugs, like so many. I have not tried nearly close to, you know, I probably tried more than the average human, but I have not tried anywhere near as close to how many exist. I mean, it's insane. And I'm talking about like illegal ones. If you're talking about legal ones too, like the hole just gets deeper and deeper. We're gonna. I think that's good.
Wow. Hey, did you know that Roe v. Wade was overturned
When?
today?
Today?
Yeah.
That's pretty bonkers.
Yeah.
What?
The Supreme Court overturned it.
Oh shit! You just reminded me there was one more thing we had to cover.
Aha, fool! I got you. Was it the Roe v. Wade?
It wasn't Roe v. Wade though. That's insane though. That's actually just.
Yeah. Apparently, they even who
I
is it?
might have shared it in. Maybe I shared it.
Alito writes,
Discord.
"We hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled." He writes in the document. It's time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives.
Here it was.
And that Roe was egregiously wrong from the start. This dude named Altio says. Alito?
We could just that playing while we're.
Yeah, Justice Samuel Alito.
Samuel Alito.
Yeah.
Huh.
He was the justice that did down, but it was the Chief Justice, Justice Thomas, Breyer. Yeah.
Here.
Justice Alito.
You hear?
Wow, what a douche.
You hear this? No. No. Oh, it's muted. Oh.
Oh.
Wrong sound. Hold on. Sorry, chat.
Whoa.
Oh. Boom.
Next gen
Can you hear that?
products that come.
Yeah, I heard that.
Okay. Let me stream this to you real quick.
What's that guy?
This is a CNBC article or a little story that came out like
Bullshit.
3 minutes ago. Experts worry. What's up?
Fair use?
I don't know. They might fair use this. I don't give a fuck. We're gonna talk about it live at least. So
right.
Experts
Heroes
worry.
Live, chat.
Experts worry next gen pot products can cause psychotic episodes. This is a CNBC.
Oh, the cannabis psychosis, baby.
Here it comes. And no, like they literally go over every fucking Sam talking point in existence, and it is just a pretty grotesque.
Yo, though, I gotta say, when I first ate 100 milligrams of edibles, bam, gone like a light.
Here we go. Okay. So high potency pot. Here we go. Here we go with the high potency pot again.
Experts are now voicing concern that teenagers are getting their hands on these.
Oh, I love this one, by the way. He's keep this in mind. I want everyone, as we watch this 3 minutes, to keep this in mind. He literally opens the whole video by these 3 words: top drug experts. And then you'll see that we hear from drug experts throughout the whole video.
Why was I not called in?
Top drug experts are now voicing concern that teenagers are getting their hands on these new next-gen products that come in all shapes and forms. And their worry is that the THC levels...
You would be more qualified to come in than most of the top drug experts that were interviewed here, which there is none, by the way.
This just in. Kids pay random jack off to buy them beer. Story at 11.
Right.
Are so high, it can lead to teens suffering psychotic episodes. Here's Steve Patterson.
With more than 7,000 dispensaries nationwide, the $20 billion marijuana industry is growing so fast, some state regulators say it's even outpacing alcohol sales. The cannabis choices are growing too, with
it is not outpacing alcohol yet, though alcohol sales are down for sure.
Yo, but like, I mean, I would rather have people smoking pot than drinking.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Oh no, let's not outsell alcohol.
If you literally were to replace every drunk driver on the roads right now in this very instance with a cannabis, like a stoned guy, the amount of danger would automatically be lowered. Like, I guarantee you that there would be way less accidents. Not saying that there still wouldn't be accidents, not saying anyone should be driving high, but just the amount of people right now that are actually drunk and driving, if they were instead stoned and driving, the roads would be much safer in this very moment right now.
There would be most likely less accidents.
Yes, for sure.
Is what we were saying. By safer, there would be less chance of an accident.
Yeah,
because it's really not the same.
Right.
Like, we're very much better stoned than drunk.
Yeah. And maybe not for everyone. Maybe, I'm sure there's alcoholics who have a really high tolerance and maybe they can drive, but generally just like I said, as a general
better drunk.
Yeah, we're just saying as a general statement that we would much rather have every drunk driver be stoned right now instead of drunk, because it would literally make the world a safer place instantly, even if it would obviously be way safer if everyone was just sober. Sure, but that's not the world that we're ever going to live in, and everyone needs to accept that. That's part of the first step of accepting the legalization model.
Products like wax or shatter now available. There's so
shatter.
Okay, now here we go. Here we go with this narrative.
The crystal.
Products like wax and shatter are now available. Wax and shatter have been available for a long ass time. There were wax and shatter back in the days. And hashish, just the very concept of concentrate, hashish has existed since early centuries, way back, tens of thousands of years maybe. We literally have
We've had it.
We literally have proof of it in ancient China. We have it in Egyptian tombs. Hash has existed forever. So concentrated marijuana is not new. People have not just only been smoking flower forever. People have been extracting from cannabis for forever. The butter that people use to make edibles, Rick Simpson oil, all of these things are various forms of extraction. This has been happening way before the legal cannabis industry ever existed, including dabs, shatter, all of these things. So this is not new stuff. Yes, of course, now for the general person who had no idea what weed was and who wasn't in the drug culture, this is super new, right? Your general Karen had never heard of dabs before, never heard of shatter, never heard of hash, maybe even. But for a general stoner, everybody who's ahead, they all know what this stuff is. So this is just a false narrative. This is not new. We've had concentrates for a long time. Pot was not always 2 to 4%. Do not believe this talking point.
Sold in fruity flavors and have levels of THC, the compound in marijuana that makes you high, that can be 8 times higher than the pot of 20 years ago, according to state regulators. And that's made some Colorado parents like Sydney Block and Janet Corneal terrified.
It was scary. She was slurring her words.
Remember, they said top drug experts like Jasmine's mom.
Right?
Top drug fucking experts. Qualification, she is Jasmine's mommy.
Who the fuck is Jasmine?
Nobody fucking knows.
Are we talking about Princess Jasmine, the only famous Jasmine that I can think of?
Probably the daughter next to her, I'm guessing.
She wouldn't wake up.
Sydney smoked weed when she was younger and says she couldn't believe her daughter Jasmine's reaction was from marijuana.
I was like, there's no way that this is just weed.
Janet said she didn't.
Well, guess what? There is just way. It is just weed.
Also, is she saying that She's giving her daughter cannabis?
Was she saying when her daughter was using legal cannabis?
Okay, but yeah, but like, how old is her daughter?
Well, I'm guessing she's legal. She's it's this lady right here. I don't know.
Oh, I hope she's legal. Otherwise,
well, they did say teens. This is a story about teens.
So she's giving her daughter legal cannabis?
I don't know if she's giving her daughter, or if she probably just like her daughter was just. She's saying like, I smoked weed when I was young, and my daughter, I saw these effects of her after she came to me and said I did weed, and these were not weed that I am familiar with. But like I said, yeah, just because you took a puff of some flower doesn't mean that other forms of weed have not existed for forever.
Maybe you got some skunk. It's not great.
Anyway, I don't know what her daughter took. If she took, you could take a high dose edible. She just said like if she's not used to dabs and she's taking, she took a dab that can put her out like a light.
Bad.
Ask Mr. Gundam. You don't take too many dabs anymore because they wreck them.
No, they burn my throat hole. Mm-hmm. So I do not take the dabs. But I did like the concentration of the dab. But the burning sensation was just too much.
Will was using.
I had no idea.
You know, you can use like cartridges and stuff, so you can dose the heat better.
Yeah, but that's not like the same.
It's still concentrate, but no, you're right. It's not the same. It's definitely not the same.
Drop bowl and we should get another drop bowl, with the little bowl inside. You remember that?
Yeah.
Anyway,
let's finish this. This is 3 minutes.
Right?
I'll be honest with you.
Their teens, 18-year-old Will and 19-year-old Jasmine, were both
19. Jasmine's 19.
Taking marijuana concentrates.
So not illegal.
So she's saying they were both taking concentrates.
What's called dabbing to get high.
What's called dabbing?
First, really getting into high potency THC. I don't think I ever had to pay money for it.
You just got it handed.
I love how that. No,
okay,
stop. Wait, now. Stop.
Wait, no, go back though. Before you, Mom's like, "Oh, I smoked a little pot." Dab. And like smoking a joint, way fucking different. The amount you get hit when dabbing.
What are you talking about the joint though?
Because she's like, oh, like her mom's like, oh yeah, when I was younger, I smoked a little pot.
Right.
But they're talking about taking dabs here.
Right.
And I'm like, no.
Well, that's what the mom's saying. That's what she's saying. That's the whole story, though. They're trying to make it out that high potency, like this little tagline right here.
This is high potency marijuana. This is concentrated dab oil, which will wreck your shit way faster than smoking a joint. How much like freaking THC do you think I'm like absorbing with?
Right, with that's what they're saying, though. That's exactly what the story is saying.
Is that like I like how like everyone's like, oh, 3 milligrams is like this many joints. How much fucking joints do I get if I just take a big scoop of dab and just?
Yeah, but that's exactly what the story is saying. I'm not sure what you're saying.
Like I'm saying that like Jenny's mom, the expert, is an expert on the ancient weed of her time,
right?
Because she smoked a little pot growing up, and it's like, oh, my daughter shouldn't. Oh no,
none of these people are experts. None of these people are experts. That was the joke. But yeah, the whole problem right now is the high potency cannabis thing isn't real. So like,
what I'm saying is that like the expert, right, smoked a little pot, probably never did a fucking dab in her life, to know like.
Well, that's what she's saying. That's why she said that. She specifically said, this is not the cannabis that I was familiar with. Which is the whole story. She's trying to say that it's some big, scary other thing that it's not. Which you're correct in saying that a dab is...
oil before, though.
Right. That's what I said.
Illegal dab oil. And
right.
This lady who was probably doing her pot illegal, the Jasmine's mom, she probably never did a dab.
Right.
Even though it was there, she's just not familiar with it. Dabs existed back then, Jasmine's mom.
Right.
They've existed this whole time.
Right.
So just because you say, oh, it wasn't the pot I grew up with, yes, it was. You just didn't do it.
Right. That's what I said.
THC, I don't think I ever had to pay money for it.
But so anyway, my issue is that she's saying this girl just right now just said, when I started using high potency, listen to her words here, the way that she talks.
When I was first really getting into high potency THC.
When I was first really getting into high potency THC. Now she's talking about high potency THC like it's some other kind of drug, like you're talking about like crack or something else. Like when I first got into high potency THC, this new wave of drug, like no, this is
that.
No one calls it that. No one calls it that.
I've never called it that. That's dab. That's fucking dab oil.
Nobody calls it that. They're trying to make this into a new drug. That is one of the Sam's biggest narratives, is that these drugs of the now are not the drugs of old, and that's what they're trying to say. They're trying to morph it into a new thing and be like, hey, look, that weed that you, that's what they're
never heard anyone else call it that.
This is how they're trying to
she actually looks like she's a little high right there. That's a good pause, by the way, for her face.
They're trying to differentiate and basically gain all the hippies back to their side. They're trying to be like, hey, hippies who are like now going to be voting pro cannabis. They're like, hey, no, it's not that weed back of your day, Grandpa. It's not the Thai stick that you used to smoke. This stuff is high potency cannabis. This stuff, yes, this stuff is high potency cannabis. This stuff is like crack. It's like it causes psychosis. It causes this and that. We don't know what this is. This isn't the same drug, so you need to vote against it. That's what they're trying to go for here. And
stoner driver's ed, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, stoner driver's ed for sure. But yeah, we just wanted to point that out, that this 19-year-old said, when I first started getting into high potency cannabis. It's obviously for the story. They're trying to paint a certain narrative here. This has Sam and Kevin Sabet smeared all over it. But yeah, let's just keep listening.
Jasmine, wait. So then is Jasmine also the expert because she used the high potency cannabis?
Right. As like I said, we will not hear from a single drug expert this entire video.
What is this high potency? You mean concentrate? Is that what she's saying? Concentrate?
No, they also paint the picture that flower is also now high potency as well, reaching into the 20 and 30%, and they claim that all flower of yesteryear used to be between 2 and 4%.
I mean, I don't really understand the percentages really well.
Yeah, no one does.
High on some pretty, low percentage stuff.
Right, which is why those numbers don't matter. The science behind those numbers is bunk.
I mean, I like, the color of the leaf. And the leaves for sure. I like the amount of crystal I see on it. Always with the crystal for me. The more fucking sugared up it looks, the better for me. I mean, I like mine light green with lots of crystal.
All right, Mr. Gundam,
like
we're already into our first hour, so let's try to finish this up. You're nug drooling over there.
I don't think I ever had to pay money for it.
You just got it handed.
You just got it handed to you. Oh my God, the story that they're trying to paint here.
This bitch got free weed. Give me free weed.
We literally were talking about this when we were reviewing the 420 special. We were like, yeah, there's like, where are all these people out there that are just like, hey, free drugs? Like, who's just handing out free dabs and stuff? Like,
I want free dabs. What the fuck?
Don't get me wrong. Within the cannabis culture, there is definitely, of all of the drugs that are really used, including cigarettes and stuff, like people bum a whole cigarette. People don't share their cigarettes. People do share joints. They share bowls. They'll share dabs. There is a sharing culture within cannabis, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful that we're just like, oh, hey, brother, take some medicine. Oh yeah, here, try some of this one. That's great. It's beautiful. But when they're trying to paint this story of like this new epidemic, this new crazy high potency THC drug, and be like, and they're just handing it out on the streets to everybody, and it gets you instantly addicted, and blah blah blah. It's like, oh my god, I see. Like, how it's so obvious what you're trying to do here with this narrative, and it's just disgusting. It's so false.
Also, it's so crazy because it's like, oh, are you saying that they're just going out like and they get like an edible or something, they take it, and then they're fucking stoned out of their mind? But like, I can go to, you know, my fucking kitchen, grab my whiskey, take a shot, and then I'll be like, oh, I'm drunk now, motherfucker.
Right. Loving the new layout. Thank you, Maria. I also am loving it so far.
But yeah,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to take a shot from my alcohol and get drunk immediately. I wish that cannabis was like, you take one hit and you're fucking that you're fucking high.
I mean, for people who have like never used it,
fucking addicted.
Yeah, addicted's very different than addicted is very different than high, for sure. So anyway, let's see what Will Brown has to say, the other expert. Will Brown, he also used high potency cannabis. I guess these people are experts because they used high potency cannabis. That must make them experts, these like 19-year-olds.
This backwards hat motherfucker.
19-year-old kids.
Everyone knows backwards hat is fucking bullshit. It was fine when you were small, but nah.
Be a coherent, functioning human being.
Or to the side.
He said there was no way he could be a coherent, functioning human being.
I was under the influence of all the stuff I was using, predominantly high concentrate THC.
See, he said keep in mind, they didn't cover what other kind of drugs he was doing, but he said,
that's a nice torch.
He said, I couldn't function with all the drugs with all the stuff I was doing, which was mostly high potency THC. Yeah, they didn't. They failed to mention the other stuff he was doing. He may have been mostly using high potency weed, which is already, as I said, a loaded term in itself. But if he was like doing some like uppers or downers or psychedelics or who knows what else, yeah, he probably wasn't having a really good time if he was like doing all kinds of stuff. And he probably wasn't
at the same time
wasn't fulfilling his social needs if he had a bunch of different addictions to a bunch of different substances. But it's dishonest for them to just like neglect that he's literally saying there that he was doing a lot of stuff and mostly that was his main drug of choice.
What am I seeing in this picture? Who is this?
They're just trying to show you what dab is.
No, but like, what is this background? He's got shoes hanging off the wall and
use blowtorches to heat up rigs,
like a
or they
YouTube
vape
video.
the concentrated wax or shatter.
One dab could be equivalent to smoking an entire bowl.
These pot concentrates with
right,
yeah, that's fun.
One dab is about equivalent to smoking a whole bowl.
And like half a bowl is fucking nuts, chat.
Flavors like Fruit Frenzy are legal for adults in
what? Flavors like Fruit Frenzy. Oh no.
Oh no, not fruit.
Fruit Frenzy. Like what is even the point of saying stuff like that? Like, listen to the way he said it. Like
Fruit Frenzy are legal for
flavors.
With flavors like Fruit Frenzy are legal for adults in Colorado, but not for kids under 21.
It did get to the point where it was like, if I don't smoke weed today, like, I'm not doing anything.
I couldn't like wake up. I couldn't like go to sleep.
You couldn't wake up? How are you here, bro? You couldn't wake up, bro. How did you wake up?
How did you go to sleep if you can't wake up, bro?
He's like, I couldn't wake up. I couldn't go to sleep. What does it even make sense? Are you high right now, bro? I couldn't wake up. I couldn't go to sleep. But like somehow I'm here, even though I could never do either of those things. Like,
I don't know.
I'm sure he meant when he wanted to. I'm sure that's what he meant.
Okay, but like, yo, if I'm smoking, I'm probably not gonna want to go to sleep. But you know, bro, just relax. I don't know why you gotta be all crazy.
Got so dependent.
Will and Jasmine found support at a Denver public high school called 5280 that's designed for kids in recovery.
The amount of THC that's coming into their system is causing severe psychiatric symptoms such as suicidality and even psychotic breaks.
New state data shows the sale of these
suicidality.
Fucking fatality.
Babality.
Products in Colorado has increased by over 150% since 2016. The federal government says THC.
Imagine in Mortal Kombat put in like suicidality, and it was like you just like made your opponent. You just made your opponent really sad until they killed themselves.
No. It's where you kill yourself and your opponent still wins.
Wow, I guess that would work too.
Are more likely to produce anxiety.
Like the ultimate fucking slap to the face. It's like,
yeah, it's like,
no, I didn't win. I fucking had you, but I didn't win.
It's like finish him and then you finish yourself.
Yeah, you finish him. You finish yourself. Just you're not worth the fucking kill.
Agitation, paranoia, and psychosis. Today, Will and Jasmine are both sober and have some advice for the cannabis industry.
Rather than putting so much time and effort into like making more and more and more potent things until we have 100% THC or whatever.
We already have that. No one's working on making more and more potent things. We can't make more and more potent things. We can't. We can only make new flavors. I'm telling you, as someone who's been purchasing this shit for 5 years in this industry, there is nothing new coming out. I wish there was innovation in this industry.
There's no crazy stronger shit. There's a lot of regulations on what you're allowed to grow and what you're allowed to sell.
Yeah, and even if there wasn't, there's just no way you can make it more potent. Like you can't just, it's weed.
That would be cool.
You can make really good weed. You can make the cream of the crop. Like you can make beautiful plants that give amazing buds that don't taste like any other bud, and you'll never find another plant or experience like that ever again. But
Han Solo hamburger.
You will not be able to make it more potent than it already has been for forever. We've already had concentrates for forever. We've had the ability to distill these oils down into other things. We've had hash forever. These are not new things. These are just new to you guys. This 19-year-old, she doesn't know anything about weed culture. She wasn't born in the 60s. She wasn't born in the 70s. Neither was I. But she doesn't even she wasn't even born when weed got legalized recreationally. Like,
where in America right now can a 19-year-old legally purchase cannabis?
No, I don't think she's legally purchasing. I mean, if you have a medical card, you can legally purchase, no matter what age you are.
Oh,
which is great.
You think she's got a medical card?
Well, they only generally give like legit medical cards to people under 18, though. Like 18 and over, you could definitely argue that there are people who just walk into, I'll say shady, and I don't think they're personally shady, but I'm just gonna put my finger quotes in the air here. Shady doctor who will, give them a medical card for basically anything. But generally speaking, if they are 18 or younger, it's for severe conditions only that they're allowed to give a medical card to someone who is under 21.
Can you imagine how that fucking hit her though? If what I'm understanding here is that she smoked concentrated dab oil on her first fucking experience to marijuana. It's like she didn't go in with joints. She didn't go in with edibles. She immediately fucking hit a dab. And then was just coughing and dying on the side and
Well, yeah, that's why the mom's saying I've never seen any cannabis like that. Well, yeah, she's never taken a dab or been around people taking dabs. And her daughter, who is also young and new to weed, clearly, was also probably not very familiar with her dab either.
It is possible to spend more time and effort into looking into how to protect our youth.
For the news, I'm Steve Patterson.
Did your mom get you to say that?
It sounds like something a mom would say. Some bullshit.
Almost like, you gotta give an inspirational message, honey. You're being watched. Remember.
Right. We gotta do the thing. We gotta say the thing, honey. Say the thing.
Oh, I'm back in the game now.
All right.
Play some
Oh
games.
my God, gotta protect the youth, cause that's what the youth refer to each other as.
They always.
Unless now that she's 19, she's no longer a youth.
Okay.
Oh my God, the first time someone like referred to me as sir, I was like, the fuck?
So we're now going to get into the second half of the show. Now, this is the newer stuff that we're going to be trying. I'm going to hope that we're going to be covering the different. We're going to try covering just different various topics of the drug war, and also just playing different videos and YouTube stuff, or just talking about different, just doing more research streams, stuff like that, mixing it up. I don't ever want to get into like a really big routine, and we're always going to be evolving the show and trying new things. I don't want to personally get into any kind of rut. What's up?
My
You good?
Looking for the thing. I don't have the thing.
What thing?
I think it's in the city.
What thing?
This thing I wanted to give you. I think it's in the bank.
So we're covering the bank. Okay, well, I'm not even in the game right now. I'm still setting up the stream. Okay, so we're going to be covering the first Opium War. So this is a. How am I gonna? I wish I had
the stream. Yeah.
Wish I had an Yeah, well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Anyway, so there's the. We're going to be going over the first Opium War, which is done by Extra Credits, which is an amazing YouTube channel about history. So we're going to just be covering. They did a great coverage of the Opium War. So we're just going to have some of that playing, and we're going to talk about it, and just have you guys getting that information while we do the game, because I think it's really great content. I think they did a great job putting it together, and it's really interesting to understand a lot of the history of where all of this kind of a lot of the prohibition laws and things really did come from economics, and not because of any kind of danger to people back then. So we're gonna play this.
92. Britain has just come out of a war that's cost it not only.
You hear this, Mr. Gundam?
Yeah, I can hear it.
1792. Britain has just come out of a war that's cost it not only much of its national treasury, but also one of its most lucrative overseas colonies, North America. The empire needs new sources of revenue, new opportunities for trade, and there's one clear possibility: China.
There we go.
By the end of the 18th century, the world had become a much smaller place, with European traders traveling the globe to feed the hungry markets of the industrializing West. Wars were fought all over the planet to secure exotic goods or the raw materials needed to power new economies of the rising European empires. But China still remained aloof. Demand for Chinese goods was high. Silk, porcelain, and especially tea were coveted by buyers back in Europe. But the Chinese emperors saw all these foreign traders as a potentially destabilizing influence, and as they had done throughout Chinese history, placed strict controls on foreign trade. Specifically, they limited trade to just a few ports. Traders weren't allowed to set foot in the empire except at a handful of cities designated for that purpose, and all trade had to go through a trade monopoly known as the Hong, who could tax and regulate foreign trade as they saw fit. By the middle of the 18th century, this was taken further, and all foreign trade was restricted to a single port, Canton. This drove resentment among the European traders who saw limitless opportunity for profit if they could just get their hands on it. And those Europeans trading in China were, in some ways, a self-selecting group. If you're going to make your living transporting goods thousands of miles from your home, you probably believe in the inherent value of unrestricted trade, which meant that these rules did not sit well with the Europeans, and piracy and smuggling began to rise. Even within the official channels of trade, merchants began to strain at these limitations. Eventually, an employee of the Honorable East India Company, the militarized trade organization responsible for British affairs in India, pushed by what he saw as abuses of corrupt officials and undue restrictions on free trade, decided that it was time to openly break the rules that the Chinese imposed. He left Canton and took his grievances upriver, literally and figuratively, wanting to be heard by someone in the Chinese hierarchy who was outside the Hong, outside the monopoly set up in Canton. And here's where divides of culture come in, because it's possible that he wasn't acting in a way that he saw as malicious or even inappropriate. In fact, he may have been acting in a way that he thought of as perfectly reasonable were he in England. But he wasn't in England, and the arrogance of this trader just deciding that his complaints should be elevated to imperial court rather than going through the proper authorities was unbelievable to the Chinese. More than that, it put into question whether these Europeans would stay in one port at all, or even obey Chinese law. And so further restrictions were put into place. Trade was clamped down on even more. But European demands for Chinese goods, especially English demands for their newfound love of black tea, continued to grow, which brings us back to 1792. By this point, the British were importing tens of millions of pounds of tea every year. Within 2 decades, import duties on tea would account for 10% of the government's entire revenue. Tea was one of the major drivers of the economy. Tea was so essential to the British world that the Canton system was simply no longer acceptable. And more than that, the British were now running an enormous trade deficit with the Chinese. Millions of pounds of silver were flowing out of the British Empire and into China. On top of that,
like reviving.
European struggles had cut them off from the silver mines of South America, and costly foreign wars had left the treasury dry. Even the Honorable East India Company was broke, incurring a huge debt to finance their military conquests of parts of India. The British Empire, for all of its power and its wealth, for all its global might and territory in every region of the globe, simply did not have the raw currency it needed to continue paying for its tea habit. So, the British decided that it was time to finally send an official diplomatic mission to China. No more traders, merchants, or pirates. This was going to be a real envoy from one monarch to another to talk about opening up trade. After some consideration, it was decided that the first Earl of Macartney, a seasoned colonial governor, should lead the mission. His aims were simple: end the Canton system, establish a permanent embassy, or at least get a permanent British representative in the imperial court, and, if possible, secure the grant of a small island off the coast of China where British merchants could operate under British rather than Chinese law. So they packed the hold of a ship with clocks and telescopes and even carriages to be presented to the Chinese emperor and began their trip. They sailed east around the Cape of Good Hope, with only one minor detour when the trade winds pushed them all the way to Rio de Janeiro. At last, though, they arrived in China. They immediately asked to dock at a port much closer to Beijing than Canton. This was considered bad form by the Chinese, but representatives of the East India Company explained that they had expensive gifts for the emperor on board, and didn't want any of them to get ruined in a long overland journey, so the Chinese acquiesced. They and their goods were ferried up the Grand Canal to Beijing, and here they assembled their gifts and prepared for the last leg of their journey, over the Great Wall and to the Emperor's summer palace at Johal. Here they finally met the Emperor, and trouble began immediately. Because in the presence of the Emperor, it was expected that everyone kowtow, or kneel and bow so low that their head touched the floor. And Macartney, being a seasoned British governor and gentleman, hailing from what he believed was the most powerful and civilized nation in the world with, as he saw it, the most divine monarch, and not only the right but the duty to spread the British way around the globe, refused to do so. After all, if he wasn't going to touch his head to the floor for King George, he certainly wasn't going to do it here. So, after some wrangling and protestations, he proposed a counter-solution. He would perform the kowtow so long as, every time it was done, a Chinese official of equal rank would kowtow to a picture of George III. This was, of course, ludicrous to the Chinese, as, after all, they were from the most powerful and civilized nation in the world, with the most divine monarch, and who was this barbarian to try to put his king on anything like the emperor's level? Seriously. But even without the kowtow issue truly resolved, with McCartney merely genuflecting in the end, as he would to King George, the meeting went forward. McCartney showed off the marvels of British science, although mostly the flashier and less practical kind, and presented them to the emperor. And here too, signals got crossed, because the Chinese court took this as a tribute mission. After all gift-giving missions to the emperor are tribute missions. What else would it be?
And going back to the shop,
thought that they were demonstrating all the reasons that China would benefit from opening up trade with them. So in the end, McCartney was dismissed without the emperor agreeing
the portal
to a single
teleported
one
you
of
there?
the goals he set out to achieve. And the emperor sent one of the most gloriously, imperially snarky letters ever penned to King George, thanking him for his tribute, which, though neither he nor the Chinese actually wanted it, he would graciously accept out of respect for how far George had sent people just to pay him tribute. But no, China didn't need baubles or knickknacks from England, thank you. Trade would remain the way it was. So Britain was left with a massive trade deficit. The East India Company was £28 million in debt as a result of their war in India, and the royal coffers were nearly dry. They needed to find some product the Chinese wanted. And then they did. Opium.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
where the hell are we going?
Talk about. This is a nightmare to control. I love this, but it is a nightmare for me to do. We gotta figure out a better way.
We do.
Maybe you can control the video?
Can I?
Well, not under our current setup, but anyway. We'll talk about this while we play now. We'll talk about that first video.
All right. So,
to cover, if you guys didn't, just to recap what we just heard about in the first part, in the first Opium War, there was basically a massive, all of the Brits were massively addicted to tea. So tea, which you may not know, has caffeine in it. Caffeine, which is also in coffee and chocolate and lots of other things, is definitely a substance that, by our definition of what addictive in our society currently means, would be considered an addictive substance. So yeah, tea was being consumed at such a large rate, and China had such a massive amount of good tea that Britain just could not keep up with it. And unfortunately, when it comes to the resource game of money, Britain did not like that all of their money, which was at that time backed by gold, and you know, we had an actual like currency standard across the world that we sort of understood. These things were backed by actual assets and you know, resources that we knew that were finite. And so they didn't like that their resources were all going to China, so they wanted to find something that China wanted so that they could pull their money back. And that is how we get into opium. China, of course, had no reason. They personally didn't really care about trading with Britain. They didn't really care about any of the stuff that Britain was bringing over and showing them. But Britain was not about to accept that. So, yeah, we enter opium. Yeah. Britain starts growing opium, as we'll see, and importing it to China. Now, at this time, opium was actually illegal back then. So,
should we try and jump down?
Which way?
Towards the thing. Or, wait, where is this?
I hate that I can't chat either. Oh, this is such a pain in my ass, bro. I'm not complaining, but I'm just letting you know. It is not. It is. I love it, but it is not feasible for me right now. So I either need to like code some fucking macros on my PC or have a stream deck that'll like control this shit for me, because I cannot do it with my mouse and stuff. I can't. Because it just pulls me out of the game. If I try to like go to the next screen, like my screen, my gun just starts shaking around, and then I have to like Alt Tab or F, or I have to like get out of it, and then it's not convenient. It's not easy to do. So we'll figure out another way. Like I said, for now, I think that this will be fine for tonight. We're gonna cover each of these videos individually afterwards, and we'll talk about them a little bit.
Oh, let's watch the drug PSA.
No, I just said we're gonna watch these ones first. I mean, if we have enough time, we can watch another. Oh, did you head downstairs?
Yes. I went down.
Yeah. So actually, back in that era when the opium war first started, did you just like teleport down there, or did you jump?
Oh yeah, I teleported. I'm heading towards the Warsog Shallows.
Are they here?
It's in the overworld.
Well, why don't we just teleport to the overworld? Oh yeah, the China actually did have opium outlawed back then, though. So it's funny that the video starts that way, because as we'll learn about throughout the history, it was actually prohibition, despite what a lot of people like to believe is not all just on America. Prohibition had existed from multiple authoritarian regimes for a long time. And it was actually, China had already banned opium back then. So opium wasn't allowed in the country. People were still, of course, using it. I hadn't stopped it, just like it never has stopped people.
Troll.
But yeah, the Chinese government had already outlawed opium back then. So you'll see prohibition, as we'll cover through, and I'm sure multiple various videos. Also, PSAs I don't want to put in like the tiny screen either. It's supposed to be more for like I said, like more us listening to information and stuff. I just wish I was able to pause more and stuff. It's kind of difficult. But like I said, each of these history videos is only like 7 or 8 minutes, so we could just play it, recap, and talk about other stuff that wasn't covered in relation to drug war, and then we'll just go to the next video.
Troll witch doctor.
Oh shit.
We did it.
We did it. Revive me, mushroom. But yeah, funnily enough, this whole drug war, and or at least this opium war, and all of this starts from the drug addiction that is tea. Of course, we don't think of tea as a drug nowadays because the FDA, Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Acts, basically prevent us from doing so, because you can't consider nothing is considered a drug if it's a food or a drink. But tea was actually so addictive that they could not keep up with the demand. back then.
They couldn't live without it.
And so they needed something that was, in their eyes, equally as addictive. And so they decided to use opium. So let's get into part 2.
Last we left off, the treasury of the British Empire was flowing into China, and the Honorable East India Company was still reeling under the staggering debt it owed the government for underwriting its military conquests in India. Something needed to be done. They needed to find some tradable good, something other than silver, that the Chinese
Are we supposed to be going to like one of these
the
places?
massive costs of the Victorian need for tea, and the answer they found was opium. By the early 1800s, tea sales in England were unimaginably high. Given the quantity they were importing, the average English household spent about 5% of its income just on tea. The government itself was basically propped up by the tea trade. Because the government had lent the Honorable East India Company so much money to conquer parts of India, and because a huge portion of the East India Company's revenue came from transporting tea from China, the country was even more dependent on the tea trade, as that revenue was being used not only to repay the debt the company had incurred, but to pay interest on it. But even as the tea craze was consuming England, the Honorable East India Company was also coming to the realization that their conquests in India weren't realizing the returns they'd hoped. Their plans to grow cotton in India had gone awry, as cotton production in the Americas, and especially in Egypt, were on the rise. But it turns out that something else grew really well on all that land that they'd planned to use for cotton. Poppies. So the East India Company found its solution.
Poppies.
They would grow poppies in India, convert them into opium, sell that at a profit in China, use the profit to buy tea, and then sell that at a profit back in Britain.
Brilliant.
There were only a few problems with this plan. Besides the fact that it meant pushing drugs on an unheard of scale, there was also the issue that opium was technically illegal in China. And the Honorable East India Company, being of course the Honorable East India Company, would never do something illegal. Okay, they would, but they didn't want to risk getting kicked out of China or cut off from its tea. So they set up a market in Calcutta, basically the part of India closest to China that they controlled. And they said, anybody who wants to buy opium, we're selling it right here. No idea what you might want to do with it, but hey, that's not our business. Who wants some opium? Come on. And then they would let the smugglers handle it from there. So now you've got a bunch of dodgy characters selling drugs in the Middle Kingdom, basically backed by the largest corporation and the largest national economy in the world. And as Indian opium turned out to be even stronger than the domestically grown stuff, everybody wanted it. So opium sales skyrocketed, and by 1835 they were moving roughly 3,064,000 pounds of opium per year into China. And that number was only going to get bigger, because in 1833 the British government decided to finally do away with the Honorable East India Company's monopoly on the opium trade. Now everybody wanted a piece of the action, and opium started flowing into China completely unregulated, increasing supply, driving prices down, and making the substance even more accessible. By 1839, nearly 5,639,000 pounds of opium would be pouring into China every year. But I'm getting ahead of myself, because it's not like the Chinese were just sitting around letting this happen. As piles of money which the government desperately needed flowed out of the country, the emperor appointed an official named Lin Zexu to address the disastrous effects of opium on the country. He was brilliant, incorruptible, and utterly inflexible. He saw the threat of the West and the morally corrupting effect that opium had had on the Chinese people, and decided that the only approach to take was the complete removal of opium from China. By March of 1839, he had reached Canton. It was the source of all this opium, so he planned to cut it off at its source. His actions were swift and uncompromising. He arrested thousands of Chinese opium traders, forced addicts into rehabilitation programs, confiscated opium pipes, and closed opium dens. And then he took on the Western traders. At first, he wrote an open letter to Queen Victoria, appealing to her conscience, a letter which it's very likely she never received. When he got no reply, he demanded that the foreigners surrender their stores of opium. The foreign merchants stalled and prevaricated, giving up small amounts of their opium stock, but nowhere near what Lin Zexu had demanded. So he marshaled the troops and put the foreign warehouses to siege. The merchants holed up for a month and a half, but in the end they gave in and were forced to surrender 21,000 chests of opium. For the next 23 days, Zexu burned the opium with lye. This was a king's ransom in opium. The amount of money this destruction represented is staggering. It was roughly 1/6 as much as the British Empire, the largest, most far-flung empire in the world, had spent on its military the previous year. Needless to say, everybody involved was going bankrupt. Now, there is some debate over whether the Chinese offered tea in exchange for the surrendered opium, but what is certain is that the merchants never received any tea, and instead the local chief superintendent of British trade, one Captain Charles Elliot, promised the merchants that the British government would cover their losses if they would leave peacefully, which, of course, the British government absolutely refused to do. The outcry over this illegal seizure of British goods began to grow. Meanwhile, back in China, a reprehensible incident occurred where some drunken British sailors beat a man to death.
Magic bean.
The execution of a British sailor in recompense. Captain Elliot, who actually disliked the opium trade and was somewhat sympathetic to the Chinese situation, put out a reward for evidence of who had committed the murder and gave money to the victim's family. He then had the criminals tried on his ship, inviting Lin Zexu or a representative to witness the proceedings, although none took him up on the invitation. He sentenced the men to hard labor back in England. But this wouldn't work for Lin Zexu. After all,
you want to go in there or you want to keep
going?
going?
Was to show that foreigners couldn't just violate Chinese law on Chinese soil. So in response, he stopped all food being supplied to the British and posted signs telling them that frothier water sources had been poisoned. Next, he ordered the Portuguese to eject all British from Macau. He was going to see these pesky British and their drugs off Chinese soil once and for all. So the British retreated to a barren nothing island off the coast. A barren nothing island that will eventually be known as Hong Kong. Their food crisis was ahead, though. Captain Elliot sent a request for food sales to resume. The response was delayed, so he sent men ashore to buy food. But as they were heading back, these provisions were seized by Chinese officials. Soon, a firefight broke out between the blockading Chinese junks and the British ships, and thus began the First Opium War. With all the moderate voices out of the picture, there are only two ways this...
No.
Guns.
Hold it. Ah, this is so not convenient when I'm in a battle. Okay. What did you think about all that, Mr. Gundam?
I also don't think it was convenient while we were in a battle.
That's not what I'm talking about. Wait, I just got another legendary item. Wait.
What the freak?
Wait, was that... Oh, wait. This is the same fish I had earlier, but this is like the upgraded version of this fish. It's the fish again, though.
Oh, it's Destiny.
It's a level 23 version of the fish. What do you think about the opium war, Mr. Gundam?
I mean, any time you try to make a war on something, this is gonna fail normally.
Well, they didn't try to make a war. They just tried to... I mean, so having an economy is kind of always being at war, right? Because you're always trying to have more resources than the other one. Like, the whole point of, like, a system in which we have money and wealth and stuff is like, oh, well... We need to be able to accumulate wealth so that we can turn that wealth into better resources for our people. At least that's what they say, right? Obviously, it's generally better resources for, you know, the aristocrats and not for the general people, but...
Aristocrats.
Aristocrats. But yeah, cats.
Everybody.
Fat
Everybody.
Cats. Oh, hey, there's a chest over here. Oh, and nothing. Nothing cool.
Oh, hey, a purple one.
Not for me. Got 3 uncommons and a rare.
Holy shit, I got a gun that says it grows wings and homes in on enemies when I throw it.
That sounds nuts.
That's some drug-fueled shit right there.
Ready to get out of here?
Yeah, let's do it. Into the portal.
And of course, that's it's funny because we were talking about the decriminalization thing today. Oh, I guess there's another level to this encounter, or another part of this.
Yeah.
So it's funny that we were talking about this earlier, but you see here where what Britain ended up doing was pretty brilliant. So the East India Company ends up growing all this opium in the place that it has that is closest to China. And then they have Chinese traders who know that that's the spot, right? This is just some classic drug deal shit. They know that that's the spot to go pick up these wares. And so they just go pick it up, and it's not illegal technically because they're not selling the opium directly to China. They're just like, "Hey, we sell opium over here, really, really close to China. Once you take it off our hands, we know that you're going to take it into China. We know that you came from China. But we're not selling it, so we're not breaking any laws. We're selling it
We don't
here."
know that.
We don't know what.
That it's going to China. That's why they can sell it.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying. But they know that it is. That's the plan. Of course, they can't admit that they know that. I have my freaking inventory is all full right now.
Damn.
Some potion. Okay. And then, of course, you see the attempts at prohibition that did not work from the Chinese government itself, because, of course, the original prohibition wasn't working. And then once they had a fat supply coming in, there was definitely no way. So what did that potion do? What did it say that was for?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Is that going to help us get through this fucking shit? I don't suppose so. Oh, is it to this guy?
Yeah. Oh, sweet. Complete it, bitch.
Does this solution get us in here?
I hope so. But hold up. We gotta go fucking sell shit.
Ah, yes it is. Yeah, you said that already.
Give it.
Hey.
Oh, sweet. But let's go to Bright Hook and sell shit.
Yeah. Are you gonna just teleport us there or what?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's get into part 3. Safe place.
Had been fired. Lives had been lost, but full-scale war wasn't a certainty yet. The British set up a blockade. The Chinese were offering to let British captains dock so long as they signed a bond saying that they would never sell opium in China and were willing to be subject to Chinese law. But the British had already put out the order. No British ship was to trade with the Chinese. Tensions are high. Something would have to give. On the 3rd of November, 1839, a British ship by the name of the Royal Saxon approached Canton. They were signaled to stop, to turn back, but they made a run for it. One of the British ships in the blockade fired a warning shot. It skipped past their bow. The cannon shot was heard from the shore. The Chinese admiral stationed at Canton made his decision. He would send out his fleet to protect the Royal Saxon. And so, a small host of junks and fireships began to pour out of the Canton harbor. The situation was confused. The commander of the ship that originally fired requested permission to engage. Captain Elliot, the superintendent of British trade and the man who'd convinced the British merchants to hand over their opium in the first place, initially wavered, but the Chinese ships were bearing down hard. Another request to engage was made. The Chinese ships were festooned with red flags, the color of war. The honor of his nation and his flag would not allow Elliot to back down before such intimidation. The order was given, and the men engaged. The first broadside roared over the water. British shells shredded one of the fire rafts. There was a cataclysmic explosion, a gout of flame and sea. One of the war junk's magazines had been hit. All that was left of it were burning planks carried by the waves. The ships turned to give another broadside, but the outmatched Chinese junks began to retreat. Only the proud admiral's flagship was left, standing defiantly, returning shot. But it was hopelessly outclassed and already damaged. Seeing the admiral standing alone, Elliot told his captains to cease fire. The point had been made, there was no need for meaningless slaughter. And so, seeing the ceasefire, the flagship turned and limped back to port. The first real battle of the Opium Wars had come and passed, with the British bombarding the Chinese forces for defending a British ship which they themselves had originally fired on. For some time after this, there was a lull. Some in China even thought that the British were too far away to seriously pursue a war. But the truth was, the British were simply mustering their forces. At that very moment, Marines and soldiers from India were being redeployed and transported to China. The latest ships were dispatched from British naval yards to serve in the fight. Many in the British Admiralty saw this as an excellent opportunity to field test the iron, steam, and sail ships that were just rolling off the lines. When the forces arrived, though, the British descended on the island of Chusan. The Chinese and British officials met, once on the Chinese flagship, once on the British ship. Each time, the British made their demands clear. Surrender the island and no one will be harmed. And each time, the Chinese responded in baffled disbelief. The Chinese officials told the British that, hey, we never did you any harm. It's not right to punish us for the acts of those in Canton. They implored the British to turn away, but the British had their duty, and as the Chinese officials made clear on their way out, so did they. The next morning, the bombardment began. Soon the Chinese forces retreated behind the walls of their city, and the British Marines landed unopposed. They set up their guns and then took the night to rest.
Get out of here?
By the next day, they found the city nearly deserted. Chusan had been captured with little loss of life, and the British had a jumping-off point for their operations should they decide to threaten Shanghai. By this point, the emperor had dismissed Lin Zexu, the righteous minister who he had so celebrated a short while before, and replaced him with an official named Qishan, who was empowered to treat with the British. Qishan and Elliot began to discuss a settlement. They haggled over reparation for the destroyed opium, and eventually came to a figure of £6 million. But Elliot was still supposed to get territory for the British Empire that they could use for a port. He offered to return Chusan in exchange for some other island, but Qishan was not about to give away portions of sovereign China. And so the talks broke down. Then, as the new year passed, at least for the English, an opium runner, which had snuck its way into Canton, came back with the rumor that the emperor intended to resume the war and attack the British. Elliot decided to preempt such an assault, though the wisdom of trusting unsubstantiated rumors coming from opium runners is a bit questionable. Really, it's unlikely that such an attack was ever actually in the works. But working with the information he had, Elliot commanded the British forces to open fire on the Chinese fortifications at Chuanpi near Canton on the morning of January 7th, 1841. The fighting lasted mere hours. The British guns ripped through the fortifications and silenced any counter-batteries with haste. Then, Indian and British Marines landed and rapidly pushed the Chinese ground forces back. Tragically, a rumor had been circulating among the Chinese that the British executed every prisoner they captured, and so many hopelessly fought on to the death, until their battalions were in tatters and their dead outnumbered their living. By 11 in the morning, the British flag flew over the Chinese battlements. 600 Chinese lay dead. A meager 100 were captured. Among the British, only 30 were wounded, and those not even from enemy fire, but because of their pieces of artillery overheating and exploding. Meanwhile, the Nemesis, the iron, steam, and sail ship that was being tested in Chinese waters, demonstrated the power of its guns and rockets, dispatching junks and chasing away the Chinese fleet. 3 further forts stood to be captured, but the next morning, a Chinese physician came under flag of truce to ask on behalf of Qishan. Despite the overwhelming desire of the troops to cut their way to Canton, Elliot acquiesced. Horrified by the slaughter he had just witnessed, he wrote to one of the British trades who was pushing the war that he hoped to resolve it without further bloodshed, and that if further conflict was necessary, it was clear that they could take what they wanted. So he agreed to meet. Soon, terms were hammered out. The Chinese would pay $6 million in reparations. The British would pay $6 million to buy the island of Hong Kong.
Go up the beanstalk.
Ambassadors would be exchanged. The Chinese agreed to not call the British tribute-bearing barbarians anymore, and the British would return all the forts and the territory that they had taken during the war. And most importantly, trade would resume in a much more free and open manner. So, problem solved. The Chinese get just about the best terms they could conceivably hope for under the circumstances, and the British get to fulfill their mission and open up a whole new empire for trade. There's been some bloodshed, but in the end, everybody's happy, right? Well, not exactly. Elliot's boss back in England, a fellow named Lord Palmerston, who will undoubtedly crop up in other episodes down the line, was not happy. The British Empire didn't get the massive sum of money he wanted as reparations for the opium that was destroyed. They didn't get to keep the territory that they'd conquered. They didn't get as many open ports as he would like, and perhaps most of all, he was livid that Elliot, who had never really been comfortable with the drug trade in the first place, didn't even ask that opium be legalized in China. So, Elliot, for his swift and nearly bloodless execution of the war, was dismissed and sent packing. And Qishan, the emperor had to be ecstatic with these terms, right? I mean, the Chinese were clearly outmatched, and at the end of the day, all they had to cede was a barren rock in the middle of the ocean. Pretty good deal, right? Well, the emperor was not so happy. In fact, he immediately recalled Qishan and ordered him executed for treason. Apparently, he thought they could have gotten a better deal. Don't worry, Qishan lived, he's fine, but needless to say, neither party ever signed this treaty. 200K. So join us next time as all the voices of reason are removed from the Opium War.
Oh god.
Oh no.
As all the voices of reason are removed. You don't want to hear that, chat.
No, you can't hear the voice of reason, chat.
You don't want the voice of reason removed when you're in a war.
Right.
I mean, ever, but definitely not when you're in a war. But yeah, just leave it to fucking Britain. To just be like, hey, you know, we are addicted to your tea. So we're gonna start selling you drugs so that you'll get addicted to those and give us money so that we will be able to pay for our addictions. But then when it doesn't go the way that they want it, then they end up starting a war on their own selves accidentally and attacking themselves accidentally. This thing over
what the fuck was that?
That guy, he just blew up, fell down the beanstalk. But yeah, I just love that they literally start the entire thing, even attacking their own selves and thinking that it is an attack from the Chinese, therefore then attacking the Chinese. But then on top of that, and all of this again because they had an addiction to tea and they didn't have enough money to pay for it. But then on top of that, they then are like, hey, you know, okay, now that we're here and now that we're like killing y'all, can we also like take some land and stuff too? Like, what in the fuck? What?
That's just Chinese. That's just fucking England, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Their fucking imperialism. The fucking imperialism is so real and it's disgusting. Like how, like, and all for their tea addiction. They're literally creating other drugs to pay for their drugs, so that, and then they're killing people so that they can take land and sell more drugs.
Damn, am I glad to see you. You got my message, right? So you know about as much as I do about what's going down.
Punch father.
But whatever it is, we gotta.
Oh yeah, British imperialism is gross. I mean, all of the countries with authoritarian regimes and any form of imperialism is pretty oppressive.
Not great.
Oh shit, this slide. Look at this thing.
Wait, where are you?
Wee. That was fun. I don't know if that's the way I'm supposed to go. And then, as you'll see here, we finally were able to come to a pretty peaceful solution thanks to this based fucking negotiator here who really just wanted to end the bloodshed and didn't care about the war, didn't care about the opium, didn't care about the fucking money.
Nah, he should have cared about the opium.
He just wanted as little bloodshed as possible. But as we will find out when he returns to the Queen, they were not very happy with with the terms that he ended up negotiating with the Chinese. They in fact ended up wanting much more, and as we just said, imperialism. They ended up wanting more imperialism.
Two imperialisms going against each other.
Yeah, two imperialisms doing an imperialism.
Like, no, this is the Queen. You give her money. No, this is the Emperor. You give him money.
Right. That's why I love that joke that they put in there. Where they're like, well, King George is like the most, the most divine ruler. And then they're like, well, but our emperor is the most divine ruler. It's like, yeah, well, everybody thinks they have the most divine ruler.
Right. Ordained by the heavens and ordained by God.
Right. Literally told by their ruler that they are fucking,
Kim Jong-un can talk to dolphins.
Right. He can do anything.
Right.
Magical god.
And his grandfather
Punchfather
shot the first machine gun. 3 bullets, 3 bullseyes.
Some heroic ass deeds to do. Wait, but what about this other guy that we're trying to be like?
Oh, hold on though. Look, we missed one of these babies.
Oh, did we miss one?
Yeah, we passed it.
Where?
Back.
Where do we? Well, let's go then.
All right, hang on. What?
Did you hear that guy?
Refractive waters of the whale?
Yeah, but did you hear what he said before that?
No.
He said every village has a village idiot. To find out who it is, look into the reflective waters of the well. He said they usually go in there. What an ass. Classic fantasy burns. Okay, wait, are we gonna go? Where's the die? You said it's over back here?
Yeah.
Up here. It's like, it looks like a scroll. Oh, never mind.
It's over here.
Yeah, I'm coming.
How do we get up there?
What? How did you get up there? They're like a...
No, you just jump on it.
What?
Up? I think you got to do a running start, maybe.
Doesn't follow me. No.
Don't the map like I just did.
What did you... You just fell off. Well, then how am I supposed to do it? Oh, look. See? I bet it's like this shit. No, never mind. I just killed myself. See, but I was thinking maybe it was jump on this thing that I just blew up. But no, I just blew it up and it hurt me a lot. That's not it. I thought you said you just got to jump up with there.
I haven't gone up there yet.
Well, the mushroom companion got up there. Little bastard. See? Those just fucking... Can't use them. Wait. Ah! Aha!
How'd you do that?
Went up that side.
This side?
Yeah. There's also a chest.
Ooh. Chest.
Chesto.
Chesticles.
Oh, there we go. Right in the chesticle. So, let's see how this how this war comes to its grand finale.
Well, of course, the colonists.
With all the moderate voices out of the picture, there are only two ways this conflict can now go. The Chinese can drive the British from their shores and clamp back down on trade with the outside world, or the British can bring this great empire to its knees and force them to trade on their terms. There could be no other resolution. When the Chinese emperor dismissed Qishan, he summoned 3 men to replace him and take over the efforts against the British. One was his nephew, who would serve as the main commander. The other 2 were officials and military men.
Here.
Before they left, one of the officials recommended that they accept peace and let the British busy themselves with trade while they modernized and strengthened the Chinese army. But the emperor would hear of no such thing. They would take back what had been lost. Chinese forces now massed around Canton. Elliot was still there. He had been trying, with almost no success, to limit the opium that flowed into the now British-controlled port. And the same official who had tried to reason with the emperor now reached out to him, hoping that the large numbers of fresh Chinese troops he brought in would give him more leverage at the bargaining table, and perhaps get Elliot to agree to an even better deal than he'd already offered. But this would not be the case. And so Elliot started concentrating British forces, telling the British and American merchants in Canton to withdraw. By the 22nd of May, 1841, the Chinese were shelling the British factories in town. In the night, they launched fire ships across the river at the becalmed British forces. The great steamship Nemesis fired up its engines, powering out of harm's way. The fire ships missed the rest of the fleet, sailing past and slamming into the port, setting the town on fire. A gun battle took place, but by dawn, the river was firmly in the hands of the British, and the fort guns the Chinese held were silenced. I don't suppose you got that last one. Now it was the British's turn to go on the offensive. But that offensive was halted by a Chinese plea for a truce. 2 days later, though, one of the Chinese commanders decided to break the truce. Desperation had set in. They launched manned fire ships to try to destroy the British fleet, but even this would not avail them. In the end, the Chinese paid an indemnity to the British to not sack Canton, but riots by the peasants, looting by both the British and Chinese armies, and the complete lack of resolution on the matters of the opium, trade, and Hong Kong issues meant further conflict was inevitable. But as the British withdrew to regroup at Hong Kong, a typhoon hit. The cutter Elliot was on was smashed, leaving him swimming with the flotsam. He began swimming hard for Hong Kong when, over the horizon, he saw a sail. It wasn't a British sail. It was the battened sail of a Chinese war junk. He knew he had to swim for his life. Hong Kong was right in front of him. All he had to do was make it. Exhausted, he dragged himself onto the shore, only to be greeted by the news that, actually, he was fired. He'd been fired 4 months ago. It was 1841. Getting news halfway around the world still took a while. And the men who replaced Elliot were far less open to finding common ground with the Chinese. They were here to expand the rights of the British Empire by any means necessary. The war would no longer be interrupted by truces, ceasefires, and talks of peace. And thus the British began on their campaign north and east, capturing fortresses on their way. Each fortress wasn't just a victory in its own right, but a threat to the emperor in Beijing. Each fallen citadel was another jumping-off point that the British now held, ever closer to the Chinese capital. And this time, there would be no returning land. There would be no giving back territory unless all British demands were met. These islands and fortresses the British captured would be held hostage, not to be relinquished as a sign of good faith or as a part of an agreement to reach a peace, but only in exchange for the ransom the government back in England demanded. As they took these fortresses, though, the British found a strange thing. Everywhere they went, next to the cannon, in the guard towers, they would find opium pipes. The Chinese resistance was weakened by the very drug they were supposed to be fighting against. From the officers all the way down to the enlisted men, much of the army was addicted to the drug. The British forces, on the other hand, were a mixture of discipline and severity. The new British commanders saw themselves as the civilized force in the conflict, and forbade looting on the pain of death, and even prevented their soldiers from cutting off captured prisoners' queues for trophies. But when one of their soldiers was kidnapped and beaten during a resupply mission, they had no problem burning several of the nearby villages in retaliation, as if they could train the population through punishment. As the winter of 1841 to 1842 passed into spring, and Chinese attacks became even more desperate, the retaliations simply became more brutal. But their advance pressed on. By the middle of June, Shanghai was taken, and then in July, Xinjiang, where we get a prelude of what's to come with the Manchu commander turning on the Chinese populace, illustrating the cultural and racial divides that would tear China apart over the next 60 years. After securing Xinjiang, the British finally moved on to Nanking. Both sides knew this would be the final showdown. The British wouldn't have to seize the capital at Beijing because Nanking stood at the entrance to the Yangtze, the river which was the heart of China. It was the superhighway down which all trade to the capital flowed. If Chinese access to the Yangtze could be cut off, the capital would starve, and much of the kingdom would be in chaos. So it all came down to this. It all came down to the capture of Nanking. But there would be no great showdown, no final battle, because the emperor finally began to realize that he was beaten, and that if they lost Nanking, there would be no negotiation, only surrender. So better to negotiate while he still could. He sent an official down to talk to the British. At first, talks went nowhere, as the British demanded that the official be given authority to make binding deals for his government, the lack of which the court in Beijing had taken advantage of in prior negotiations to get out of treaties made by other officials. Cultural misunderstandings and attempts to delay as long as possible by the Chinese officials delayed the process slightly further, but by the middle of August, under imminent threat of attack on the city, negotiations commenced. In the end, though, despite technically holding Nanking, it was clear who had all the leverage, whose gunboats could impose their will if negotiations failed, and the Chinese ended up conceding on nearly every point. The 6 million that Elliot had asked for now became 21 million, and the amount was granted. A number of new ports for trade were opened up. The old Kohong monopoly was abolished, and tariff rates were to be agreed upon rather than set by the sovereign Chinese government. The island of Hong Kong was ceded in perpetuity to the British, and British subjects would operate there under British law, completely free from Chinese jurisdiction, and British consulates were established at the treaty ports. The only two things that the Chinese didn't concede on were Christian missionaries, which were such a touchy subject that not even the British delegation tried to bring them up, and opium. The Chinese government refused to legalize opium, even though the British representatives tried to lean on them to do so. Even though they had no power to prevent its sale, they steadfastly refused to legalize the drug. This would eventually lead directly to the Second Opium War, a conflict which plays out shockingly similarly to the first, at least in the broad strokes. But
what do you know?
Most of the major
Prohibition led to
involved.
another
These
war.
Two wars, and the treaties which follow them, will go down in Chinese history as the unequal treaties, and begin what will later be labeled by the communist government as the Century of Humiliation. While at the time they may have seemed just a part of a larger destabilization and realignment of the country as a whole, they have since been seared into the Chinese consciousness, and to this day are conjured whenever dealings with the West take a turn for the worse. They are used as a milestone, a measuring marker for how far the country has come in the last 150 years, and as propaganda to remind everybody of that fact. And while these wars have perhaps the lowest casualty count of any of the conflicts that Extra History has covered to date, they have had a profound impact on global politics and global understanding all the way to today. The Opium Wars are long over, but their effects linger in significant ways. See you next time.
A great little special there from Extra Credits, as I said. Definitely recommend their channel. Go listen to them if you love history or just good storytelling, but you'll learn because they are storytelling actual history. Yeah, I love their channel. Shout out to those guys. Definitely did not we did not make that.
No, we didn't. We're not that good.
Yeah, we don't know that much about history, but thanks to them now we do, and it was a great video series. Now, if anything, class, we must notate that the lessons here are pretty obvious.
Yeah.
For one, this is Professor Villy. Look at, do you see this thing that just keeps falling through these two portals? This fucking sheep over here. You see it?
No.
Look, over there, look.
Oh. Wow.
Funny.
Wait.
What?
Where?
Huh?
The hell is the obelisk? Why are we all the way over here? I was fighting the obelisk.
Where are you? What do you mean? You died.
Yeah, I know. And then I came next to you.
Yeah, well, let's go back to the obelisk. So, some of the points that we have to learn from this opium war. First off, the reason, in fact, that the British ended up going to war in the first place was because they were addicted to something and they didn't have enough money to pay for it. Then, the only reason that they chose opium, guess why they chose opium, chat? It's not because they were like, oh, hey, this is a super addictive thing that we know if we just get them hooked. They knew that opium was prohibited. They knew that when they were like, hey, what can we get a lot of money from the Chinese for? They chose something that the government had made illegal, something that was prohibited, because they knew that that would be something that A, would be in high demand, and B, something that would fetch a high price. Both of those are issues that always will happen in any kind of prohibition when you have a market, especially when you're prohibiting a commodity specifically. It really can't be done. It can't be done successfully. It can be done, obviously. It has been done, but it can't be done successfully. And as this channel said, and I don't actually know if they ended up, I think based on what I've seen, I don't know that they did go over the second opium war yet. But as you can see, the British really tried to get them to. That was the one thing that the Chinese would not budge on, was the legalization aspect, and it led to a second war over the exact same kind of shit. And more people ended up dying. So tons of people died because these things are made illegal. And the entire war only happened in the first place because of the prohibition making this drug be such a wanted commodity, such a valuable and restricted commodity. That was the only reason that they were able to use opium in this way. If opium had been fully legal, I'm sure that China would have had its own opium supply, and it would not have needed this commodity from the Britain or the East India Trading Company. Ultimately, what we have to learn from this is prohibition, bad. Also, war, bad. And war on drugs is a war and it's prohibition all in one. So it's really bad. How did you get up there?
I'm like a spider monkey.
Oh, I see it. So we killed that was the obelisk thing, the dragon?
Yeah. Okay. That was the guy.
The guy.
Alright, let's get out of here.
Okay. Yeah, see, I feel like we could have filled this stream if I was able to like pause in those videos and like talk about the points individually a little bit. But because of our current this is a new setup for us, chat, so we're getting used to it. But yeah, the current way that we have our OBS and everything set up, it's just really difficult for me to be playing with Mr. Gundam and have this be my active gaming screen and then also be switching and clicking and doing other things. We hope to, as we continue to upgrade our system, we know we're going to be doing, but I mean we're going to be streaming our gameplay through a separate. Oh look, I think this is the quest. Oh no, this is just another thing. Burning Hunger. Another quest.
Super Regal Beast is imprisoned and longs to be free. It's also pretty hungry, so maybe bring a little snackaroo.
Oh, what the fuck?
Iron Shroomlet.
Mecha Shroom. Get here.
Ice Splooter Shroom.
Oh my god. Was it?
Usually that's what she says when there's a marble nearby. Yes, that's a game.
Oh my god, mimics! You open a mimic?
I didn't open anything. Travel to the forge. Oh. That at? There's this thing over here. Come on.
There.
What? Oh, you found the marble?
Yeah.
I like the way his lashes flutter across the page, and the shape of his lips as he mumbles about possession and soul transmutation and dark bonds. His so friendly.
That's probably not so friendly.
Oh. Boing. Boing.
Cool sick, but like bad sick, as in ill, but not like cool ill. I mean like you know what I mean. I understand.
How did all of these things become cool? Anyway. A pretty good point. Like, why did ill and sick both mean cool?
Because you have a cold when you're ill and sick.
Well, I think originally ill just became like a variation of saying sick, right? Because they're like, oh, I'm too cool to say to be like one of those people that's just like saying sick. So they're like, I'm gonna be like unique and say ill. Yeah, I really like the way the new layout looks. Just really need to get a new, like I said, it's just a Jamie setup. The show's only gonna get better and better, chat. Let me tell you. Mr. Gundam and I are gonna be putting on quite a show for you guys.
It's gonna be fun on the bun, chat.
Appreciate you guys staying with us through all of our little transitions. We appreciate all the followers that we've gotten. A ton of followers recently on Twitter. That's dope.
What the hell? There's a chest over there.
Chest. Oh, I'm getting wrecked over here. Ah!
Ah, it's a trap. There's fucking mushrooms around it.
Always mushrooms. Oh. Boing.
Desto?
Where are you, dude? I'm like so... Oh, are you over here?
I'm somewhere.
Oh. I'm...
You're so far ahead.
I'm where... All these mushrooms just... They take you everywhere. You just have to bounce on the mushroom. I don't know how to like get back to where you are.
I opened the chest. So whatever it is, we can get it when we get back.
I don't know how to get back to where you are yet. But this is the forge, so there's a forge here too, I guess.
I found a die.
Die, where? Okay, let me try and get back. This one takes me over here. I can go here. Okay, I'm right here. Where's the die?
On the other side of this house.
Oh, we have to figure out how to get there then?
Yeah.
Over here, no? Oh, it's up here? Yeah.
I see it.
See what?
I see how to get up there. Look.
See the way? Your eye shield 21ing in it right now?
I know the way, my brother.
Are you eye shield 21ing it right now?
No, I just know the way, my brother.
Oh, I always feel like I eye shield 21 shit. Do the math.
Bam! You see what I did there?
Well, was it this little yellow paint that helped?
Yeah.
Oh shit, there's a purple on this one.
There's purple.
The ring? Better ring than what I got.
It's a purple.
It's a purple one. Holographic.
Oh my god, he's an enemy. I thought it was just my mushy friend.
Speaking of holographics, but RNG is addictive, chat.
RNG?
Good RNG is addictive. But RNG in general. Is RNG a drug? But it's my drug. It's the high roll heroes drug. That's a great drug for us too. We like high rolls all day long. I also realized that our HRH can also.
Let's go get this chest.
I also realized that our HRH can be harm reduction heroes, and I actually love that our HR can use this harm reduction as well. Actually, was not intentional, but amazing. Oh, Chesto has a gun. As good as my current purple gun. Ow! Fucking mushies. Wait, where was this? Ah. Leave me alone, Shroomlet. I control your brother. Didn't we just watch that? It's reminding me of that. We were watching that King's Ranking episode. I feel like I'm using this mushroom against his brothers, like that big green guy.
Oh. We're not slitting their throats and
No,
using
we're
underhanded
not.
tactics.
No. Well, we may be using some underhanded tactics.
I ain't using no underhanded tactics.
You're just running and gunning.
That's right. As the good Lord intended.
What?
That's right. Do you have time to talk about our great Lord and Savior, Helix?
No.
Helix be praised.
Gotta go this way.
The prophet Pidgeot, old of his forecoming.
Oh, look, there's a dice over there. I don't know how we can get to it. Can we jump on these? Oh. Oh, wait. No. Die. I'm gonna die. Okay. Ah! Aha! Did it. Numbers go. Hey.
I got no purple.
No purple?
No purple. And something's hitting me.
Something's also hitting me. What?
How do we get back?
Place the plunge, father. Gotta just run again. What? Get good.
I didn't make it.
I know you did. I saw you. All of chat saw your epic fail live.
Wow.
Okay, we'll put it in the clip.
Wow. You were dating your own brother?
I did that in Cuphead.
Wow, what a douche.
The moscas. Is this even the way? I don't even know the way, my brother. Where we supposed to go? Looks like there's like a... Oh, I see. I don't think I was supposed to be able to do that. Oh, you can.
No, it's fine.
But this didn't help us? Wait, up here? Ah. Ah. Wait.
Wait.
Oh, there was nothing around here. This is a waste of my time. I thought maybe there was a dice or something. Was Amanda Bynes just making fun of retarded children? No one will ever know.
No, that's funny.
Yeah. But was it funny because she was making fun of retarded children?
You can't say retarded.
You've said it on stream. Didn't we talk about this?
Yeah.
And I'm actually okay. Sorry. What is the phrase then?
It's
for what Amanda
mentally
Bynes.
Disabled.
Yeah. Was Amanda Bynes making fun of mentally disabled children?
Yeah, I found a die.
Where? I'm gone. Where are you at?
Over here.
So far away. Where are you?
Over here.
Here. Trying to like look for your name on the screen. Oh, you're way the hell over there. How did you even get over there? That mushroom?
Found some mushrooms, yeah.
Yeah, I see it. Oh shit, I died. Maybe it'll just take me to you.
No, it won't.
Well, that sucks. Well, at least maybe it'll take me to some place where I can wait. There's this die right here?
No, the die I'm on. Over here, where I am.
I just got a bunch of items over here. Okay, well, yeah, I think you got up there through a mushroom, right? Over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one over here.
Yeah.
See it. Ooh. Oh. Bottom. Bottom. Bottom.
Oh, you Kirby?
trying to make a Yoshi sound, but like
no, it sounded like Kirby when he was throwing down that sword.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like that too. I see that.
Oh hey, Chesto.
Chesto. This freaking blue gun's almost as good as my freaking purple.
I have this really good fucking pistol that is better than some of the other guns that I've been finding, and it's still at level 12.
Go this way, the way I was going earlier. There's a chesto down here. Rocket launcher. Oh. There's mushy over here. Oh, I've just literally got on the mushroom and died. I lost 2,000 gold for that shit.
It's not glowing.
What do you mean? Oh, it's not one that we can use? Oh,
no.
Jesus Christ. Well, it took me all the way down here again. Boy. No mommies. No mommy's way.
I need cookies.
Cookies?
Oh, yeah.
We're almost out of here. Hopefully we will have a better setup when we return Wednesday. We will not be live streaming tomorrow. Oh, shit. That one doesn't have a thing. I don't know why I did it again. I know you literally did tell me. You literally did tell me as I got on it. I was like, wait. He just said this, and then as I'm falling to my death, I'm like, yeah. Yeah, he did say that.
How do we get over there then?
Do we have to, like, activate it or something?
Maybe.
How do we do that? Like... Oh, wait. Huh? Over. Oh. Did you just die?
No.
Oh, I heard it sounded like you went, ugh.
I did go, ooh.
Huh.
I jumped over here. Oh, and I found a dice. Oh no, it's not dice. Never mind.
Okay, which way? I don't know which way we're supposed to go then.
I don't know either. Hold on, let's look at the map.
Continue from here.
We're like supposed to go to another island.
Is it just that mushroom that's not activated though? Is that the problem?
I don't know.
It seemed like that would be the problem, right?
Yeah,
because that is the next. Like that's. Why would the map stretch out to that? Why would it culminate to this beanstalk that we can climb, and then it not allow us to do that? Doesn't make very much sense. Nope. Oh. Oh. Okay, I'm just gonna die. Yeah, I'm dead. I've lost so much money. To these falls. Oh, chat. How do we defeat this? Is it where you were, maybe? Or like that die was? I think that's the way. Yeah, just the whole way that this map is like designed, it literally, this thing curls over to here, and it even gives us the option to like go down this way. So I don't see why we would be able to come over all the way over here. Is there any way to get back up once you're down there?
No, I gotta go quite a ways.
Doesn't look like there's really a way for us to keep going any higher than where we've gotten so far. This is Beanstalk. So can we just, I guess we just can't go that way yet.
I guess.
But what else would we have to do to get it to go? Oh, weird.
I don't know. None of the other ones required anything.
Right, they were already just activated. How weird that this one... How weird that it even would like take us here and then you can't just get back down. Difficult to get back down.
No, but you can get back up. Come here. Oh, well, now you're gone.
I'm dead. The old me's dead and gone. Dead and gone. What's down here? I feel like this is the only other way that we can really go, but like you said, these things are all bouncy and activated and there's steam coming off them and shit. But that was all that was here, right? It was just the die? Seemed like. Seems like that's all that's here. That chest. The die. Oh wait, do you see this person?
Yeah, but they don't do nothing.
Oh, they're just townsfolk. Well, I feel like we're stuck.
Oh no.
We have to just retrace our steps. We have to go back.
Let's try checking out this area that's black.
Okay, you lead the way. Follow you. There's a little scroll.
Another glorious day in our quaint little town. Oh, how delightful it is to live in a place where nothing out of the ordinary ever happens at all. Yes, indeed. Everything is just so wonderfully predictable around here, and nothing ever changes. Time for another routine day, just like every other... Wait, what's that sound?
Oh. You never say everything's routine and predictable. Yeah. That's when the universe is like, gotcha. Gotcha, bitch. Where are you even going? Oh, is this way we haven't explored?
I don't know.
Was this dark? Was this area dark? Where the hell are you going?
Yes, this area is dark.
Okay. The night is dark and full of terrors. Have we not been this way?
Nope.
Yes, this was the way I was trying to go earlier when we were trying to find the fucking the forge. This is the way we were supposed to go. There's a wyvern in here.
Long have I lain in these chains,
Same.
robbed of my fire to feed this furnace.
Damn.
While I go hungry. Free me, ape, and I shall grant you this bauble you so desire.
Okay.
Though I am no friend to dragonkind, I cannot abide such slavish circumstance. You will be free.
I'm no friend to dragonkind.
You are wise for an ape.
Let's kill him.
First, you must still this infernal contraption, else the hatch above will not open.
Good to go out and get on here.
I've shut down the infernal machine. Now what?
Somewhere near this prison, perhaps where the sun shines, lies the release mechanism to open my cage. Activate it, and I shall have my freedom.
Cool.
Soon I shall be free once again, and the heavens will
Wait.
rattle with my roar.
Hey, I found a die.
Apologies. I get hangry when I haven't eaten.
You can also get him food for a bonus.
Like the sheep?
It says we gotta find food.
Kill the sheep.
Well, it says that there's the release mechanism and then we gotta find food.
I'm gonna try and kill these sheep. See what happens.
I think that has anything to do with the sheep. Oh, so we have to like go around or be up? I think it's up. Go out here.
Oh, I hope I'm doing the right thing, releasing a wyvern.
Oh, there's the. I think this is the lever, but where's the food? I found the lever. Did you find the food?
No. Maybe.
Did?
Maybe.
Well, it should be on one of the. It should be one of the quest things. I think it's over here. I think the food's over here.
Oh, perhaps a roast skew will save the beast.
A roast what?
sheep. The sheep.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Wait. You get it? Got the food? Oh no. Lead food to the pen. How do we lead it? Where do we need it to go? Said to the pen? What pen?
Where the dragon is.
We gotta clear the way again. Well, we're about to release the dragon though. But I don't think that that's where the pin is. Oh, I shot him. He's going now. Which way is he going? I don't know. Oh, wait, look. He's in the pen. Fucking suck it. There you go. We did the extra bonus. Hopefully he gives us a cool item or something. Oh god, the sound. Huh? Well, about time we be hitting that old dusty trail. Wait, let's see. Here we go. There he is. You're gonna take us across the island?
Well, thank you. Hey, you took the thing.
Yeah, the scale. So yeah, we're just about finished here. Let's go find some shops and for us, I guess a save point. What are we even still doing here?
Huh?
Was there a main?
No, we were climbing the beanstalk for that guy.
Yeah, we were trying to for the punch master or whatever. But then we have seemed to have hit a place where we can no longer. Fast travel over back to the shop right now.
Yeah. Fast travel back to the shop, and then we'll save and sell our stuff.
We'll call it a night. So thanks for tuning in tonight, chat. Thanks for hopefully dealing with the new format. I think that I liked it a lot. I actually do like this format a lot. I think that it just has some hiccups that we got to work through on our engineering side of it, but super stoked the way everything's coming out right now. I do really like the way that it looks. Whee. Once again, guys, we are the High Roll Heroes. We will be here weeknights, 7 p.m. PST. Make sure to follow us to make sure you know when we go live. We're usually here every weeknight. Won't be here tomorrow. Usually. Pretty much, if Mr. Gundam or myself have something to, handle in our personal life, we're not going to, of course. We're going to make sure that we're being as consistent as we possibly can, but I also don't want to be a slave to anything. So, I have some activities that I'm going to be partaking in tomorrow, so I will not be making it, and we will always announce ahead of time if we're not going to be doing a stream, of course. So be sure to follow us on everything. Check us out on Twitter. Check us out on YouTube. For sure, our Discord. Join the Discord. And we always post when we're going live, and we always post if we're making any schedule changes. But typically, we're here every weeknight, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Gundam, I think that wraps it up for me. I'm going to close it out. You got anything else to say to the fine people before we head out tonight?
Peace and love, chat. Peace and love.
Peace and love, chat. Remember, decriminalize everything, legalize everything. The only reason that opium war happened at all is because that commodity was illegal and therefore highly sought after, just like the drugs of today. And the only way that we can stop that is by legalizing the drugs so that they are not as hot a commodity and not as in high demand anymore. That's pretty simple logic. Prohibitionists can't seem to follow it, and it's up to us to help them see the light. You guys have a good night, and we will see you Wednesday. Peace.